Hello, we are so excited to continue our series on the global Pinoys, on how God is using Filipinos globally in world missions. And we are so excited today that we have a very special guest, Dr. Cho. He is actually now the newly elected General Secretary of the Korean World Missions Association, which is actually the counterpart of the Philippine Missions Association, PMA, here in the Philippines. And this is exciting because Dr. Cho actually was the very first missionary that was requested by PMA to serve in the Philippines. And he had been here for, he served for more than 5 years and did a lot of projects and contribution to the Philippine mission. So we'll hear more of that in later. But for now, I would like him first to greet all of you.
Yong Cho, General Secretary of KWMA, Korean World Missions Association. But I like to be called as a Filipino missionary to the Philippines, since I served the Philippines and I love the Filipinos. And wherever I go, whenever I see the Filipinos, I approached. So my sons told me, "Oh, Dad, oh, please." That's Filipinos in my heart all the time.
Well, Dr. Cho actually loves Filipino food. I also love Korean food. But anyway, yeah, Dr. Cho, I have several questions for you today. Number one is, what do you think now, because you have served in the Philippines for over 5 years and contributed significantly as we started the world missions ventures of the Philippine Church. What do you think were the accomplishments of the Philippine Church in the past years in world missions?
Yeah, I heard that at least first thing inside of the Philippines, I heard that 72,000 churches, evangelical churches, established in the Philippines. It was a significant accomplishment for the last 30 years, because our goal to reach every barangay at that time and plant the churches in every barangay, but not done yet, but still the significant growth of the evangelical churches. So I'm so thankful to see the Filipino church evangelical presence is quite stronger than used to be. And also the Filipinos become more missionaries working around the world. That's a very positive thing.
Well, it's very encouraging to actually see how churches are responding to the challenge of, sharing the gospel and making disciples. And that's why recently, this was just actually February 2017 statistics, 72,000 Bible-believing evangelical churches in the country.
Good.
But of course, the challenge and the new goal actually that we have is to double it. No, since actually this was a 5-year goal, that by the end of 2020, from the 66,000 churches, we will see 120,000 churches.
Wow.
So
Amen.
yeah, so we are really excited to see what God is doing. Now, we also would like to hear from you. Like, say, what would you say are the significant contribution of the Korean church, particularly your ministry, with PMA and in equipping churches through the several seminaries that you have been involved with?
Yeah. When I served as a missionary in the Philippines, that was during 1980, late 80s and then early 1990s. Our Korean missionaries were less than 100, but now is over 1,000 Korean missionaries are working in the Philippines. So a lot of Korean missionaries came later, 1990s and 2000. And there was a lot of church planting activities done by the Filipino partners and Korean missionaries. I heard very good signs. When I started as a missionary, I was asked by PMA to do the research of the unreached people groups in the Philippines. So we studied that unreached people research for Warais in northern Samar. That was our first project. And I found out that time that Christian was 0.7%.
Yeah, this was in the 80s, right?
1989.
1989.
Yeah, 89.
Okay.
0.7% compared to the average, the lowest was 6% of the Protestant or the evangelical Christians that time. So that was the lowest in the Philippines, among the provinces that time. So we started that work for the Waray people, and we called it a SICAP. SICAP, Sariling SICAP.
Okay.
SICAP is a Samar Integrated Community Advancement Program.
Okay.
That Samar integrated. The
Okay.
integration was not well used by the time, and still is a very popular nowadays.
No, yeah, that's right.
But we use that integration because it's a holistic ministry, the holistic approach, not only just the sharing the gospel, but is transforming the whole life of the Filipinos, especially Warais in the
Waray,
Philippines.
yeah, okay.
That's why we started the Sika ministry. But in Manila, I was asked to teach missions. So I began to teach the Missions Impact, Philippine Alliance College of Theology, and later the Presbyterian Theological Seminary. In other occasions, I was teaching the missions. At the same time, you get involved in the mission mobilization. So we started that. We began to publish the Global Prayer Digest.
Oh, okay.
Do you
Yeah.
still have the
Yeah.
Global Prayer Digest? When I got that Global Prayer Digest from U.S. Center for World Mission, and I got the permission from the Dr. Winter to publish the Filipino edition. So we included unreached people groups within the Global Prayer Digest. At the same time, we started the Dawn Prayer meetings. Dawn Prayer meetings, I still remember our Bishop F. Tendero, when he was a pastor of the Kamuning Bible Church, we started the first Dawn Prayer meeting by our group, and we studied together. And Bread of Life also studied, and CCAC, CBC, and all the churches, some main big churches started the Dawn Prayer meetings. So probably that was kind of significant, some contributions. And at that also we started the SOS. That's like a short-term mission program. We started called it Summer Outreach to Samar. So we mobilized the churches in Manila to send the short-term missionaries to Samar for like 2 months. We started the first time is 2 months. And then out of that first group, two committed themselves to be a missionary to Samar. So the kind of the works we studied, and it lasts now 30 years almost.
Well, thank you very much. Well, yeah, that's true. In the 80s, Samar was the least evangelized and really considered unreached then. But today, we thank God that we are seeing a lot of churches there and actively also engaged in planting churches and winning people. And we believe that Dr. Cho's contribution was really significant in terms of catalyzing a missions movement locally then to be able to see churches planted among the unreached here in the Philippines. Well, actually, Dr. Cho, the learnings that the Philippine Church had since that time was actually foundational in terms of preparing the global Filipinos wherever, because of the OFW phenomenon, overseas Filipino workers. The recent estimate is that there are now more than 12 to 13 million Filipinos living and working overseas in at least 210 countries of the world. And many of them professionals or not seminary trained, not really trained to be church planters or pastors, but because they had been trained to share the gospel. They had been trained to make disciples of believers. They had been trained to handle prayer groups and Bible study groups. So this was foundational, and the foundational skills that they have, so that now, because of the scattering of the Filipinos, wherever God brings them, they also do the same.
Yeah.
And we thank God because it resulted to the missions engagements of the Filipinos, and we have seen many churches also overseas planted by the Filipinos. So the seed that you have really planted in the Philippine church in the area of missions, to your teaching in the seminary, to the research that you did with among the unreached peoples, for me, I would really say that it has a strong contribution and a significant contribution to the missions engagement of the Filipino church.
Praise God.
Yeah. So, anyway, another question that I would like to ask, looking at all of this that happened, and the church is growing here, the Filipinos are being equipped, and now starting churches overseas. What do you see are the potential of the Philippine church for world missions?
Yeah, when I came to the Philippines, not just by teaching the missions to the Filipinos, but equipping the Filipinos to be missionaries. 30 years ago. At that time, not many people were interested in the missions.
Yeah.
But I began to teach and train the Filipinos to be missionaries to other countries. But we started as a domestic missionaries, like from Manila or Tagalog to Waray people. And then after the training, or after their 4 years term, and they became the missionaries to Vietnam and later Afghanistan and other countries. So I think that's very important to equip the Filipinos to be a missionary. It's not, you cannot just become a missionary naturally. You need the training. You need some kind of whatever the kind of the discipleship before going to the overseas as a missionary. We here the Filipinos, over 12 million Filipinos were working outside of the Philippines in so many important unreached countries, and those countries are not accessible by many other nationalities, but only the Filipinos are accessible to even the deeper the family members of those countries. So I heard that from our Korean missionaries who used to work in Arabic country, and he told me even last week, I was supported by the Filipino Christians, and when I was so discouraged in that country, the Filipino missionaries, Filipino lay missionaries, they helped me to survive. And I think that was the significance, because the Filipinos have a lot of potential to be a good missionary, to be a good mission minded. If you are equipped with a mission mindedness and at the same time some resilience, because a mission is really, you have to learn to be enduring in every situation. So it is very important not only to send the missionaries, but also to equip them and continually monitoring and train and take caring of the missionaries.
Yeah, so there is really a need to prepare them, of course, spiritually, and at least some basic skills that they need to be able to do ministry. And as a result, we have seen them use of the Lord. I was just in several countries recently, and I have really seen how a Filipino engineer started a church, how a flight attendant started a church, how a nurse started a church, how a domestic helper started a church, how a public school teacher started a church. And it's just amazing that wherever God brings Filipinos who had been trained and equipped and had caught the vision of world missions, God is just using them in an amazing way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, we looking at that potential. I believe we can do more if there would be more collaboration and
Right.
partnership, because I believe that's what God really intends the church to do, to work together.
That's
So
true.
I would like us to talk about how can the Korean church and the Philippine church collaborate and partner even more in the future, so that we can even accomplish more in the area of world missions.
Uh, as for me, as individually, I have been working together with the Filipino missionaries in the different countries. Those who were prepared before or with me when I was in the Philippines. So I kept fellowship with our staff in like last 24 years. But now, as the General Secretary of Korean World Missions Association, I'd like to do or enlarge this kind of relationship, the partnership with the Filipino organizations and Filipino churches, especially like a PMA, in sending the missionaries at the same time they're taking care of or helping the missionaries to work more effectively and efficiently. Because we can do in this way. When the Korean missionary, our Korean missionaries are working in 172 countries. We officially sent 27,205 missionaries from Korean denominations and mission organizations. They are the official numbers. But there are more than like 10,000 more Korean missionaries are working around the world. But here, imagine there's 27,000, the official Korean missionaries are working with the Filipinos in that particular country. Here we are, it's a complementary base. Here, the Koreans are good at some certain areas, like pioneering or very resilient, or some little better support by the Korean churches. And here the Filipinos have a lot of flexibility and better the linguistic skills. And Filipinos have a very kind, so relational skills. So the Korean missionaries and the Filipino missionaries can be a team and can form the team and work to reach unreach the people groups in a particular country and particular situation. I think we can develop this as a more formally or informally to encouraging them.
Wow, this is very encouraging, because initially I was just thinking of the collaboration just in the Philippines. But now we can actually do it globally.
Oh, yeah.
Where Korean missionaries are and where Filipino missionaries or tent makers are, then we can collaborate and partner.
Yeah.
Wow, that would be exciting.
Not,
Yeah.
not only in the Philippines. Here, the Philippines, we have been working with the Filipino church, but I encourage our Korean missionaries to work more as a partnering with the Filipino church and like a PMA, especially in the pioneering area, because here that we have to assess the situation. Even yesterday when I had the opportunity to do the seminar lecture to the Korean missionaries, I said that we need assessment here, pioneering stage or the parental stage, or is a partnership stage and participant stage. Here in the Philippines, like in Manila, it's a more partnering, and even not just a partnering, but it's a participant stage. When the Filipino church asks Korean missionaries to do certain things, that's the stage. But like in Mindanao or some other very special ministries area where the Filipino churches cannot start the ministry or cannot see the need, then the Korean church, the missionaries, because they are missionaries, to see the need. So the Korean missionaries can start work with the PMA or the other Filipino groups to do the pioneering frontier mission work. So we have to develop that, develop more deeper and wider partnership with the PMA and Korean missionaries in the Philippines. But it's not only in the Philippines, but it's a global missions. It's widely open.
Yeah.
Because as you know, the Western missionaries have very difficult times these days to go to a certain very delicate countries. So they are asking the non-Western missionaries to kind of take over or to work with them. So it's very important, like Korean missionaries and Filipino missionaries and Chinese missionaries from the churches work together as a global team. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
there's a potential.
Yeah, so we can really see there the great potential, and we would like to explore more of this so that we can really see the Great Commission completed
Yes.
even in our generation.
Amen.
So do you have some other parting words that you would like to share, or maybe encourage those who are watching us?
Yeah, I'm so thankful for the Filipino brothers and sisters in the Lord. And especially, I always emphasize that Filipinos have a lot of potential in the Lord. And I used to say that Filipinos have more potential than Koreans, because the Koreans, we were trained in a monocultural society and monolinguist society. Monolingual is the Koreans have a difficult time to learn the other languages. But here the Filipinos, you are the multilingual culture, and that all the backgrounds have prepared these Filipinos to be a very flexible the missionary candidate already. So here we have the strengths and weaknesses, everyone. So we want to work together as a complement each other so that we can make this global team to accomplish the Great Commission in our generation. That should be our goal. It's not just expand our organization or our even denomination or even the Korean influence. It shouldn't be. But we have to dream this, our kingdom-mindedness mission. Kingdom mission should be the glory of God over all the countries can be done by the partnership with Filipino brothers and sisters and the Korean brothers and sisters. And not only but us, but all over the country, all over the world. Here we can develop very significant partnership to see that significant growth, impact on world missions. I'm so thankful for this opportunity to speak.
Well, thank you, Dr. Cho. And yeah, just like what we have discussed, we have really seen the potential of the Philippine church, and we thank God for the investments of the Korean church in the Philippines in the area of missions, so that we are able to accomplish more for the Lord. And this is our dream that by 2020, by the end of 2020, we will see 120,000 Bible-believing evangelical churches in the Philippines. And these are churches not just for the Filipinos, but all the UPGs that are from other countries that are here. We are also committed to see churches planted among them. And of course, as Filipinos are scattered all over the world, we also envision to see that the global Filipinos, wherever God brings them, will continually evangelize, they will continually make disciples, catalyze a disciple-making movement that will result in church planting movements, especially among the unreached peoples. We just want to see the Great Commission completed in our generation and see Matthew 24:14 be realized, and this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all nations, to all people group, to all ethnic group, to all tribal groups, and then Jesus Christ will come again. So we like to thank once again Dr. Cho, Korean World Missions Association, and in partnership with the Philippine Missions Association, we can work together and see the Great
Amen.
Commission completed in our generation. God bless you.